Okay, so currently there's only one type of seed in this application, and that is you just click on the seed tool, and then when you click on the corresponding plots, you can plant a sunflower seed. So now the idea is to be able to have different types of seeds that you can plant. We'll only do like maybe 3, and once you've seen how to do multiple, then it's easy enough to expand on that. So there's a couple things we have to do. First of all, as we said, each of the plant items are going to have all the types of plants on them. The second thing that we need to do is we need to create variables tracking how many of each seed you have. And then the third thing we need to do is create a menu that lists all those seeds. So the first is the easiest. So let's go to the plant control, which is what's attached to the plants. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to create public sprite. We'll call it potato 1 public sprite potato 2 public sprite potato, oops, sorry, we already did 2. We're going to do carrot 1 public sprite carrot 2. So as you can see, there's a pattern. Each plant is going to have a sprout and then the fully grown plant. In your final game, it'd be easy enough just to add a third or a fourth. It's just a matter of drawing the plant, the image, and then attaching a variable to it. So let's go ahead and save that. And what you'll see is the 3 plants all now have the potato 1 and 2, carrot 1 and 2. Now, just to save time, I didn't redraw the potato or the carrot. We're just going to use the sprout for the level 1. So in your version, you're going to want to redraw that. And then for the potato 2, we want the potato image. I imported this in between videos. And the carrot, again, I imported this in between videos. So now you have this pattern of 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Now, alright, so each plant has the ability to display different plants, so that's big, so they'll actually grow out. The second thing we need to do is we need to track them. So let's go to the GM script, and we're going to create some public static, and it's key that they're static. They have to be static so as that they're accessible anywhere in the application. So public static int, since it won't be dealing with any fractions, and we'll just do sunflower seeds. And we'll start them at 5. Public static int potato seeds, and we'll give it a different number just so we know that it's working. Public static int carrot seeds, and again we'll use the different numbers just so we know that it's working. Alright, so 2 out of 3. We've added the new plant images so that they can actually grow on the screen. We're tracking whether or not you even have those seeds to plant. Now we need to give you the ability to actually select those seeds, and then that should basically get us to what we'll need. However, that third step, there's 2 parts to. 1, creating a menu for you to select the seeds. and 2, modifying when you actually click, because right now it just clicks to see if you set the current tool to seed. What we're going to do is we're going to replace current tool. Rather than just saying seed, it's going to say potato, sunflower, carrot, whatever the seed is. So first thing we need to do is make a menu. So let's use this same image that we used for dirt. We'll just rename this seed inv for seed inventory, and we'll just modify a couple things about it. Let's scale it out, say 5, and make it maybe 1.5, and nestle it right there in the corner. Now it's not going to be in the corner there by default. It's going to open up when you click on the seed menu. That way it's not taking up real estate. So let's go ahead and click on color, and it doesn't matter what color you choose. I'm just going to choose like a bluish gray. But down here, the A, that's the alpha. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit transparent. Little things like that make the make it look a little less retro and a little bit more modern by having the transparencies. Now we said the user interface is going to be level order 5 in the layer. However, what we put on top of this window will have to be higher, so it'll have to be order 6. Now there's two ways you can go about this. You can either have little icons for the individual plants, or you can have text saying potato seed, sunflower seed, whatever. It's all a matter of preference, but technically having the icons are a little bit tougher because you have to have an icon for the plant, and then you have to have a text object to say how many of those you have. Whereas if you have a text object that just says sunflower, you can use that same text object to also show how many you have, so it's actually slightly easier just to have text. So let's see how to do that. So click on game object, create empty, and we'll call this let's start with sunflower. So we'll call this sunflower txt. Now if you want an object to display text as opposed to displaying a sprite, click on add component, mesh, and choose text mesh. It adds a mesh renderer and it adds a text mesh. Now we'll just type out test. Oops, I meant test. Text works too. So obviously that looks terrible. So a few things. You need to change the character size. I don't know why character size defaults to that big, because it looks terrible. So drop that down to like 0.2. Next, font size, let's bump that up to say 16. Let's do that 22. And then font, the only one I have is Arial. Now technically you don't have to put any text here because we're going to have a script change what the text says, but for the purposes of aligning it, as far as laying this out, we need to see what it looks like. So let's now do add component, physics 2D, box collider, and is trigger, because we need these to be clickable. We'll probably wind up having to change the box collider size, but that's okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to copy, we're going to paste it. Renaming in of itself doesn't do anything other than tell us what we're going to use it for. And this one will be carrot text. And this one will be potato text. So we've got 3. And I am going to just go ahead and increase that collider box to begin with. also demonstrates that they're not the same, they're not equidistant. Okay, so one of the things that I don't like about text meshes is for some reason there's no way to change the order in the layer in the inspector. You can do it on particle systems, you can do it on sprites, but for some reason text meshes, nor in the mesh renderer, can you choose the order in the layer. So what we're going to do is we unfortunately need a script to do that. However, as it turns out, we need a script to do other stuff anyways. So we're going to create a new script. So right click, choose create, C#, and we'll call this text. I'll just call this text info because I usually use the word control, and see if I can get away from using that all the time. So there's our three objects. We'll put text info on top of it, and we'll go ahead and open text info. Now what text info will do is on the start, it will get component renderer dot sorting order, and we'll set it to 6. And we'll just quickly run that so you'll see it is on top. There we go. So now we're going to take those three, align them with here, and actually we've got two options. We can either make the text smaller, or we can make the box a little bit bigger. So 6 one way, 1/2 dozen the other. Let's make the box a little bit bigger. There. Make sure that the collider boxes really aren't overlapping. That way you can only click on one at a time. So it's looking okay. So now in the update section, we now need to say what each of these are going to display. So if game object, so that refers to whatever the script is attached to. In this case, it's the 3 text objects. If game object dot name equals sunflower txt, and make sure you do the double equal sign. I always forget that. So if game object dot name equals sunflower, then get component text mesh dot text equals sunflower seeds. We'll put in a space, a colon, another space, close quotes, and then the plus sign, because we're going to make what's known as a concatenated field. We're combining two different values. So it is going to be it's going to be a static value, so we define that in GM script, and it was, since this is sunflower, then it's sunflower seeds. So what you've done is you've taken a constant and you've appended a variable. This is what I was talking about. If you didn't use a text for sunflower seeds, if instead you had an image, you would still have to do a separate text mesh to say how many there are. So this is actually slightly easier. In some ways it also gives you more feedback, because depending on the artwork, some of the images may look similar similar and could confuse the player in that they grab the wrong seed. and now you just rinse and repeat. If the object is carrot text, then it needs to read carrot seeds, and it needs to be the carrot seeds variable. And once again, if it is potato text, potato seeds, and the variable potato seeds. So that should do it as far as showing the totals and having the proper names. So it was sunflower 5, potato 4, carrot 3. We have this carrot in the middle, so it's actually going to show up as 534. So let's run it. Spectacular. So that font is actually kind of big because now there's no room for anything else, for any other seeds in this. Then again, your menu might scroll up. You actually might have a scroll bar as well. Again, this is just meant to be the broad strokes. So we don't want that to show up immediately. So what we do now is the final step is we'll take that seed inventory, drag and drop each text onto it. That way they become children. Now what happens is when you move this top one, it'll move everything. So let's go ahead and move that off the screen. We may eventually turn it into a prefab, but for now we'll just move it off the screen, and what happens is when you click on seed, that will appear. So that means the seed tool now needs to be aware of that. So right now the only thing seed tool is aware of is the cursor object. So let's go to tools, public, transform, and it will be, let's just call it seed inv obj. We'll save it. And what we'll do is we take the seed inventory, we drag and drop it there. Final step, at least for displaying the menu, it still won't transfer the information to the tool yet, but we'll get really close. That'll be the final step. So you're clicking on the tool, you're clicking on seed. Right now what it does is change current tool to seed. That's what's going to change. The current tool is actually going to be the individual seed names. That will be the final step, but not quite yet. So what we want to do is we want to have this menu move into the scene, or within the camera view. It's actually already in the scene. So we want seed in inv obj dot transform dot position equals new vector 2, and I'm gonna have to totally guess at the values because I'm not sure. I probably should have tested ahead of time, but we'll get it right pretty quickly. Well, if I click on this, this is at position 2, -4. So we probably, so -4 works good. 6 is probably a bit high then, so let's try 4, -4, see how that looks. Okay, so we added this variable to the tool script. The tool script is attached to seeds as well as the other UI objects as well. Seed inventory is what that variable represents. So we're now able to manipulate the seed inventory because the seed object is aware of it. So if all goes well, when we click on this, it'll move it over. So as you can see, the menu is not on the screen at the moment. Excellent. So don't have the positioning quite right. Actually, and I know why too, because whenever you're setting the position, you're setting it to the, well, you're setting it to what's known as the pivot. So if we go to our dirt image, because that's the base image, see how it says pivot is the center? Well, this thing's kind of wide, so that's why you get into overlap. So even though the center may sound right because it stretches left and right, you actually kind of have to overshoot. So we'll change that to, actually it sounds like 6 was probably about right then. Perfect. Okay, so we're really close. We have variables that track how many seeds you have. These are clickable. Now the last thing that we need to do is that when you click on these individual ones, that will set current tool value to the name of the seed. So rather than just having it set to seed, it will have it be set to the name of the seed. Based on the name of seed, it then will decide what gets planted there. So we're getting really close now.